Hi friends, Wendy Twine here. Welcome to this session of the Heavenpreneurs Summit. Today our guest is Lori Mans, and she's going to be sharing a message with us on how to monetize your message through sponsorship. And like most of us who are Heavenpreneurs and Kingdompreneurs, we have a message that we want to get out, and of course it helps to have some money or other types of resources to help that happen, right? So Lori, welcome, and we're excited to see what you have to share with us.
Good morning, Wendy. Thank you for having me. It is awesome to be here to share with all of the Heavenpreneurs out there. So thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm excited. Let's start with our first question. What has led you to be a kingdom entrepreneur?
Well, I'll tell you, when I first started my business in 2009, I I really was starting a business just because I had been downsized and I did not want to go back and work for corporate America. And even though I've been a believer and a Christian all of my life, it really didn't dawn on me that I needed to make Jesus the CEO.
Mm,
And um, I was somewhat hesitant to talk about my faith and my beliefs because there's so many people who are offended by Christians and by, having a belief in God or a belief in Jesus. And I didn't want, to offend anyone. But then I got to a point where entrepreneurship became very challenging, and it is difficult to run a business, and some days it sucks to run a business.
yes, it
And
does.
you have so many challenges that you don't necessarily anticipate, and then you're like looking to your friends and looking to um, your family and looking to the internet to try to figure out, how am I going to navigate this challenge? How am I going to get over the other side of this problem? What am I going to do? And especially if funds are low or if you're not quite sure what you should do, it can be nerve wracking. And so, being that I'm a Christian, I thought, you know what, God, you knew that this was going to happen to me. You know my beginning from my end,
Amen.
and this is not a surprise to you.
That's
So
right.
you knew I would be able to get through this, but how? So you need to show me how. And that's when I decided that I was going to invite God into my business, and I was going to make Jesus the CEO, and I would be whatever else came after that. And so
Right.
that I would share my testimony about how, God just brought me through so many things in my life, and whoever couldn't accept that would not be a person or a company that I could work with. And so, because that is just truly how I get through on a day-to-day basis. And so to me, it became more about the authenticity of who I am and sharing my story and being proud to share my story. Just like, the atheist is proud to say he or she doesn't believe in God. I was like, I'm proud to say that I do, and
Yes.
that my faith in God gets me through everything, the good days and the bad days. And so that's how I can associate with being a kingdompreneur. And I'm thrilled and happy to own that, and also to share with other people that they might want to look at that too.
Yes, yes, I so agree. Because
Yeah,
it goes back to that scripture where God says, apart from me, you can do nothing. And it's like the sooner
right.
we actually realize that we can't do anything without His wisdom, His
Yeah,
strength, all that He has to, give us that are available to us. It's like,
yeah.
you know, the better off we would be once we realize that.
Yeah, well, I have in my office, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's my favorite scripture,
Uh-huh.
Philippians 4:13. And
Yes.
that says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And
Amen.
it reminds me that without him, I can't do all things.
That's right. That's
And
exactly right.
without him, I can do nothing. And so I look at that. And then, of course, I have affirmations all around my office um, to remind me that all the gifts and talents that I have are from him. And only through him am I able to serve anyone in my business or anyone, period.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome. Great
Thank you.
story and testimony. Well, let's go into number two. You talk about in your bio that when you started your company, which is, it's Quality Media Consultants in 2009, that you started it off pretty quickly with sponsorships. So, can you tell us, maybe first you might want to explain what a sponsorship is, and then tell us how did that work for you?
Well, sponsorship is pretty much just monetary compensation for a person, place, or thing in exchange for the permissive right to associate with a brand. And so that essentially means that a company is paying for the right to associate with a brand, and they are paying for that association, whether it be an event, a company in and of itself, or a book or book tour, a project, whatever the case may be.
Numerous.
There's so many things that a
Wow.
sponsor could align themselves with. And so for me, leaving corporate America and having spent almost 20 years selling radio advertising and being a marketing and sales consultant for radio stations for that long, I worked with a lot of corporate accounts and um, Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 1000 companies, and had the opportunity and privilege to sell them big sponsorship packages and for various things throughout the years. And so, what I know how to do is sell. And the next thing I know how to do is get somebody else to pay for something that I don't have the money to pay for. And so I figured out in my business that there's so many things that as a small business owner that you don't really anticipate you're going to have to pay for. And when you start lining up all those things and getting that budget in place, you're like, oh my God, who's going to pay for this? So for me, it was just like a natural transition, like, oh, well, let me go get some sponsors for, this event I want to do or this project I want to do. I don't want to use my money to pay for it. So, and that's when I tapped into the relationships that I had already with companies and corporations to basically tell them my story and pitch to them an opportunity to partner with me as a entrepreneur and small business owner that could deliver more entrepreneurs to them.
Wow. That's really awesome. That sounds great.
Thank you.
Let's talk about, though, what is the best way for entrepreneurs to get sponsorships for their business?
Well, there's a couple of secrets that I teach in my sponsorship sales secrets training. But in terms of some of the best ways for entrepreneurs to get sponsors, you first must start with building your audience. And when you build your audience, you actually show a potential sponsor that you have influence and that you have some momentum with your company that will allow them to jump on that train and make it bigger and better for you. And so the first key is to really build up your audience and build up your following of people so that you can prove your influence in the marketplace. And the world of social media has changed everything. So it's very easy to become an influencer because you are an influencer online first. And so if you can show that you have built up your audience, and even though I'm mentioning social media, it doesn't just have to be there. It could also be that you've founded a networking group, or you founded a business association or organization, or it could just be your email list. It could be anything. But basically, what you want to do is add up all of the people that you have in your network that you have influence over. So, whatever that number is, you add it up, and basically you can show, a sponsor that you have some influence. And then the next thing you want to do is basically build up your credibility. And that credibility speaks to the fact that you are trustworthy. You have people in the marketplace who are either your partners or either people you have worked with before in the past, and they have great things to say about you. Or either maybe you have gotten some recognition with a company that has given you an award, or they've given you some type of platform to speak, or something where you can show that you have a valid and authentic and trustworthy reputation. And then the next thing you want to do is tap into your personal story. Why is it that you're doing what you're doing? Um, and,
Yes.
and, and create that story, which is basically a framework for the work that you do. So
Right.
why are you doing it? Who are you trying to help? What transformational experience have you provided for those people that you say you help the most? And then what was their end result after they came into your business, after they came into your organization, after they came into your experience with you? Did you deliver that brand promise that you said you were going to give them? And if so,
Right.
how did you do it, and what was the end outcome? And once you're able to frame that into a story, so you can show a potential sponsor how you're transforming lives, how you're touching lives, how you're making a difference, and how you are contributing to the business world, to society as a whole, then that is going to be very pivotal in them helping to figure out, okay, who you're helping is also who we're helping, and there's some synergy and alignment there.
That is really, really good information. Just love that. But one of the things that you mentioned was about building influence. Is that one of the secrets that you share in your secret sales sponsorship course?
Yes.
Um, is that influence being number one, number two being credibility. But where is that line, especially, which really kind of goes into maybe our next question, but it's like for those who are just starting out, what level of influence would you say sponsors are looking for? So because in fact, I'll just kind of go into that next question. That's that, sponsors are looking for reputable brands, and that's great if you're established. But if you're just starting out, where does that help us entrepreneurs just starting out to be able to get those kind of sponsors? We have some influence, but maybe is it to the level that they're looking for? Could
Well,
you expand on
here's the thing. Even if you're just starting out, you have influence because um, you are negotiating with your family, your friends. Even if you talk your girlfriend into going into a movie that she didn't want to see, so you have some ability to negotiate and some ability to influence and talk people into doing things. So here's the catch: you can show the ability to influence just by the fact that you've been able to start a business and you have some customers. If you have any clients, I don't care if it's two or three, okay? If you
that?
have any clients,
Oh, okay.
once somebody buys it, then that is proven, okay? So
Okay.
as long as you have some sales, then you can show, yes, I'm just starting, but I have a few sales under my belt, and then you can show what I call the vision beyond the circumstance, because you can show, hey, Mr. Sponsor, if you partner with me and if you fund this project, what we could accomplish together is far greater than what I could accomplish on my own. And so my vision is to then touch these many people in this way. And so you can show what you're planning to do, what you'd like to do, if you had the financial resources available to you that a sponsor will bring, then you can show, here's the transformation that I'd like to produce for these thousands of people that I've only so far been able to produce for these few people. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Oh, yes, that makes very good sense.
So you can say, hey, look, I've been able to offer this small transformation for these few people over here. But if I had your resources, if I had your revenue, if I had your backing and all of the things that you could potentially bring to the table for me, then I can take this transformation that I've been able to offer these small group of people and then offer it to this large number of people.
Mm, very good counsel. Okay, let's go into about the types of benefits when you're working with corporate sponsors, and how do entrepreneurs, get um, obvious monetary investments through that.
Well, the number one benefit that working with a sponsor does is boost your credibility. So, whatever credibility you already have, just to say that a sponsor has partnered with your micro business or your small business is going to instantly boost your credibility. Because if I go in and say I worked with McDonald's or Coca-Cola or Macy's or Nordstrom's or um, Bank of America or Fifth Third Bank or SunTrust, anything, any category, you pick one. If I go in and say that I have a sponsor that is well known and that sponsor has sponsored with my company on several projects and several events, then does that make you feel like, oh, well, she's respectable, she's reputable?
Right.
Instantly that basically gives you an idea that, oh, okay, she must be professional and she must be running a good business, because how else could she get those sponsors? You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
especially if you are um, you know an employee, I'm sorry, an employer, and you only have a few people working with you, and you're relatively unknown, you're not a household name, or maybe you're just a solo entrepreneur and you don't have a staff, or you don't have anybody on your team or on your staff, and you don't have anybody that reports to you. If you can also then say, you know what, I've got a sponsor for this or for that, then that speaks a long way. And that goes a long way, because you're in essence saying, I have the credibility to attract a Fortune 1000 company to partner with my little small company. And here's why they did it. And so
Wow.
that instantly gives you credibility. And then the other benefit that partnering with a sponsor will give you is press and media attention. Many times, because they have initiatives to work with women, for example. They have initiatives to work with minorities, for example. And corporations have departments called supplier diversity. And so, because of that, they want to diversify their partnerships within the marketplace to be able to show that they don't discriminate against any group of people. And that
Right.
when they seek to partner with small business owners, that they are inclusive and that they offer those opportunities across the board. And so, with that being said, you can then go in as a woman or a minority and tap into those dollars that are earmarked for those audiences. And then again, many times they bring those types of initiatives to the forefront of the media, because it's not just that they want to help the community, even though they do, but they also want to let everybody know that they're helping the community. So they then go out and get press and many times make those initiatives very public. And
Wow.
then you could then be the benefactor of that and have your small company be featured in a marketing campaign where a Fortune 500 company is trying to demonstrate that they are giving back to the community or that they are supporting small business.
Wow, that's really good. Love it. Let's talk about though that what companies should entrepreneurs be targeting for their sponsorships?
Well, when you think about who you should target, for example, if you are a CPA and you've started your own financial um, services company and you're, working with people on how to better their finances, and you're preparing taxes and you're doing financial planning and you're showing people how to keep more money in their business and all this kind of stuff. Well, naturally, you want to partner with a financial company,
Right.
whether it be a bank or a credit institution or something of that nature. So there's umpteen different categories of sponsorship that you could choose from. But because you're already in the financial industry, you definitely want to target a company that is a financial uh, resource for you. And so that's just the natural, most
Right.
common denominator to look for. So, number one, you want to look for who is also in your industry, and
Right.
um, and then you want to look for whose audience do you share common ground with. So if your audience is similar to their audience, then that should give you an indication that they could
Be a good
potentially
fit.
be a good fit and a good partner
Yeah.
for you.
Wow, that is really good. Yeah, because I mean, obviously they have to have some very, I call it some parallels. It's very similars.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
cross
and
selling. Yeah.
and another way to say that is common ground, or another way to say it is
Yes.
alignment. And as long as
Yes.
you have that common ground and the ability to be able to show them, hey guys, you're trying to go after this group of people, and I am too. And let me show you how, if we partner together, we could do that better.
That could be a really good fit for both of us. Yes. Um,
Absolutely.
let's talk about the benefits of sponsoring a for-profit and even nonprofit, because obviously there may be those business owners on this summit who are in a nonprofit status. So let's talk about what those benefits look like. You shared a little bit, but if you can elaborate maybe more on that.
Well, when you're a nonprofit entity, again, there's so many things that you got to pay for, and so many things that you may not be able to get community donations for, or or your board may not cover that in the fundraising initiatives that you have. And so it just makes sense to go after not only grants, but corporate sponsorships. And the benefit for nonprofits is, of course, it's going to supplement your fundraising goals and initiatives. And it's going to basically be a total different revenue stream for your nonprofit when you have a corporate sponsorship and you're just not dependent upon community donations, and you're not just dependent upon grants, because sponsorships are not grants and grants are not sponsorships. And so you'll have to do things differently in order to secure sponsorships for your nonprofit. But again, with a grant, that's money that you don't have to pay back. With a sponsorship, that's money that you don't have to pay back. And so the benefit for a nonprofit to get sponsorships is simply that it's another revenue stream in your nonprofit that you do not have to worry about paying back. And then you also don't have to worry about trying to raise, um, funds through people. And
Right,
when you
right,
sell a sponsorship for your nonprofit, typically it is for an annual sponsorship. It's not something that you've got to do month to month to month. It's something
right,
that you sell one year and you keep that sponsorship for the year, and you don't have to try to sell it again until the next year. And if
right.
you sell a multi-year sponsorship, then you even have a better scenario of not having to go back and try to get that money every year if you've already sold it for 2 years at a time.
Wow, really good. Now, how would that work for a for-profit? The benefit for a for-profit versus nonprofit.
Well, of course, with a for-profit, you have all of these expenses day to day operationally that you have. Just thinking about one area, technology. Any business owner needs to have computers to run their business these days.
Yes, they
You cannot
do.
run your business without a computer. And so,
That's right.
if you are in tech and if you are in technology at all, why not go get a sponsor to provide computers for your company? That's an expense that you wouldn't have to make if you had a sponsor for that.
Right.
So just thinking about the fact that having sponsors saves you money, and
Mm,
having sponsors, the biggest benefit is that they make doing business easier. And
yes.
when you have money to fund things that there is no money for, and a sponsor paid for that, it's a beautiful thing.
I agree. I agree. In fact, I remember attending a conference a few years back in Atlanta, your neck of the woods, and yeah, and this girl that I went, she was definitely a female entrepreneur, and she had a major corporate sponsor, and it was in the tech field, which would just fit for all of us, that if you're in the business world and you're needing a computer, because it would happen to be computers in that particular sponsorship. I thought that is so cool.
And did that inspire you?
It did. It really did inspire me to think about that because any business owner, I mean, like you said, we have to have an online presence, and not just using it for online presence. I mean, just day-to-day operations. Think of bookkeeping, for example.
Yeah,
Today, when you got software, it makes it a whole lot easier than when I did business years ago back in the
yeah,
90s. I mean, it was a book and it was handwriting in my ledger, it's like,
yeah,
so today computers are definitely, it's a must have. It's not even a
yeah.
want anymore. So,
It's not even an option, it's a necessity.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about how corporate sponsors are looking for potential partnerships.
Okay. So, one of the things that many entrepreneurs and solo entrepreneurs don't realize is that sponsors do want to work with you. And as I mentioned before, many times they have small business initiatives. And, there's the SBA, a government entity that regulates small business in the United States of America. But many corporations have small business initiatives that they have mandated that a certain percentage of their revenue has to be allocated to vendors and suppliers who are small business. And so even it's the same with government. There's a certain amount of business that the government has allocated that must go to small business, because small business is the backbone of this country.
That's right.
Because of that, there are some dollars that are earmarked for small business. And if you know that and you're privy to that information, then why not figure out how you can position your company to be considered for those small business initiatives? And whenever there are mandates, which means this money must be spent with this group of people before this date passes, it's like, hey, they're gonna spend the money, why not spend it with me? And
Exactly.
so when that happens, then the next thing for you to do as a solo entrepreneur, micro business owner, small business owner, is to figure out what those initiatives are, what are the goals for that company, what is the outcome that they want to achieve, and how can you position your small business to fit and align with them so you can help them to deliver their goals and objectives. And once you do that, then you've tapped into gold.
Wow. Wow. So it's really understanding what their initiatives are and how it would align with your vision for that event, that book launch, that whatever, fill in the
Yes.
blank. Okay. So, with that being said, though, we're talking obviously large corporations who set this money aside and they, like you said, they have it earmarked for particular initiatives. We as small business owners slash entrepreneurs need to know how to have that open door. And I think another thing I keep hearing you say is our pitch. We really need to know our pitch when it
Yeah.
comes to.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I teach in the sponsorship sales secret system is learning how to pitch your business, learning how to tell your story, learning how to create a framework for your story, and combine it with your mission, your vision, and your brand promise so that it all ties together and you can show how your story enhances what that potential sponsor is already doing and how you can help create more brand equity in the marketplace, and show them, because it's got to be a win-win for them and for you. So
Right.
because of your story, your framework, the work that you do in the marketplace, how does that enhance what they're already doing? And
Right.
if you can show that, then that is going to be a bigger stepping stone for you to be able to partner with them.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Um, well, this has been awesome stuff, and I could
Thank
just, I
you.
could just sit here for, I know, another hour too easily, but I know everybody's time is, kind of limited, and yours is too, and mine is. But we're going to have to actually kind of wrap this up, and I want to get into our next question, and for our audience, I do want to let you know that. She's going to be offering us a special treat that I'll share at the very absolute end. But we want to hear from you, though. What does establishing God's kingdom rule look like to you on the business mountain? Because obviously, this whole summit is about that we want God's glory to be restored in the business sector, and
Yeah.
you already mentioned that business is the backbone. We need, in fact, I said this to, one of my other speakers, and our audience has heard, is that the business mountain really is one of the main important mountains because it funds every other mountain. It funds
Yeah.
the family mountain. For example, if business isn't around, families can't put food on the table and a roof over their head,
Yes.
for the church mountain, or your nonprofit ministry that you love and adore and want to help support, well, it takes funds, and that usually comes from the business mountain, or
Yes.
that entertainment that you love to go do, again,
Exactly.
it's money.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything takes money.
Everything. So it really is important for the business owners, the entrepreneurs, to really say, God, we want your glory to be restored back on the business mountain. So we want to
Yes.
hear from you, Lori, particularly. What does that look like for you?
Well, for God's glory to be restored on the business mountain, for me, it just signifies having a posture of prayer and having a posture of um, peace and really faith. And so when you tap into your belief in God and you have invited God to be the CEO of your business, and you don't mind sharing your testimony with others, you don't mind sharing your faith with others, you don't mind sharing that, that you're someone who prays, and basically not being ashamed of the gospel of
That's
Jesus
right.
Christ. If
Amen.
that is what you believe in, you got to be very bold about saying that this is where I stand, and that in regards to my business, I consult with the CEO, who is Father God. And you ask God, what is your next best move? What is the thing that I should be doing? And how, God, should I do this? And when you consult with God and you have a posture of prayer, and it's going to come through just this knowing that this is the thing that you should do. It's going to be a desire deep in your heart that you can't shake. It's going to be this vision that's birthed in your belly that you just cannot seem to stop thinking about. And it's going to also just be something that gives you peace in your mind, that once you do it, then you'll be fulfilling your destiny, and you'll be fulfilling the reason why you think you're on this earth. And so to me, when you walk in that purpose and you use prayer to guide you, then that's how God can be, back in alignment with your business, and you can be, top of that business mountain, sharing the glory of God and basically letting people know that if it had not been for God being on my side, I would never have been able to do this.
That's right.
Because sometimes when we set out to do things that we want to do, it seems insurmountable. But with God, all things are possible. And so when you are able to say, if it had not been for God, then God gets the glory for that. And then it also shows other people who may not believe in God or who may not have a greater relationship with God to say, you know what, maybe I need to start, you know, aligning myself more with God. Maybe I need to start praying more. Maybe I need to start having a posture of peace and meditation so that God can infuse some divine direction into my life and into my business so that I can also know what to do and how to move and, of course,
Yeah.
how to succeed.
Yes. Very, very good. Yes. I say amen to all of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Because
Yeah.
it's, it's not easy out here. Everybody who says entrepreneurship is easy and that they're just, living their best life every day, it is such a lie.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah. If they really painted the picture of how much work is really involved, I mean,
yeah,
a lot of times it's so easier just to go, clock in, years ago, people
yeah,
would use the,
yeah,
have their little ticket, their
yeah,
card and go punch in because I remember those days,
yes,
you know,
yes,
and, uh, and then when you get, you punch out at the end of the
right.
day, it's like, okay, I don't have to think about that business again till the
Again,
next
till the
morning.
next day.
But as an entrepreneur, you're thinking and strategizing
All
and
the time.
organizing, and it's so many hats for an
Yes,
entrepreneur because there's so many, obviously, departments or sectors of the
yes.
business, so that
It's
you have to think about.
nonstop.
That's right, exactly. But that's why we need King Jesus to come and
Yes,
help us, so that He not only gets glory, but again, it's let our light shine. Matthew 5:16 has been one of my pivotal um, scriptures I've used in my business for years. And it says, let your light shine before men that they may see your good works
and
and praise
glorify
your
our Father.
in
Yeah,
heaven. Yes.
yeah,
So that's for me is real important.
yeah.
To be that light in the marketplace, to be that guiding light to show people the way. So,
Yes,
well,
yes, because
thank you.
it's a dark world and people need to see the light.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. That's exactly right. Well, let's end with our final question on where can people find you and connect with you?
Well, you can go to qualitymediaconsultants.com, and that is my business website, Quality Media Consultants with an S on the end.com. And on social media, you can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at I am Lori Mans. And you can find me also on other platforms like LinkedIn and Google Plus. Just type in my name, Lori A. Mans, and my last name is spelled Manns.
That's
And
good.
happy to connect with you.
That's good. That's good. Well, and I am excited that I have connected with you, that this was a divine connection, and I am so
Yes,
looking forward to doing more with you. And for those who are attending, we want you to know that Lori is giving a free ebook away on sponsorship. So there will be more nuggets. It's those hidden treasures and secret places that the Bible talks about. So,
yes,
if you're looking for those nuggets, to help you expand your kingdom message and your product and services, look into sponsorship. So to monetize that message and that movement that you're about in your business. So, all right. Well, thank you for attending this session of the Heavenpreneurs Summit, and we look forward to seeing you on our next session. We will be starting on our transformation track and on how to establish God's kingdom rule there. So, thank you, and God bless everyone.